Cool. All right. Welcome. Hello. So you are a Demon Slayer,
Correct.
and what level are you right now?
210.
210. Nice. You got that
Yep.
level 3 link. Feeling good.
Just got there yesterday, actually.
Oh, well, congratulations on that extra
Thank you.
boss damage. Always nice. Yes. So how are you? How are you in Maple right now? Like, what are you preoccupying yourself with?
So I should give you some context, right?
Sure.
I am like returning to Maple. Like I played Maple back when like you need to like gather shells to like actually use the snail throw like ability thingy. Like so I play like many years ago.
A little bit ago.
After
Yeah.
that,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. After that, when I play like a little bit after like a couple years, never really committed to it. Tried
Mm-hmm.
again in 2016. Did like a level like a Luminous in this account.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
In Reboot.
and then yeah, in Reboot. I still have it. I just leveled it up to 120 as a link because it
Yep.
was like level 95 when I came back. So I didn't like really commit to the game, but now that I came back, I I don't know if it's because I got older or something, but like I actually just enjoy the grind much more than I did back then, which
Mm-hmm.
is weird. But I saw that Maple had like the reward of like just spending time in the game and getting something out of it. You know, if you spend like an hour, 2 hours, you could actually see the progression that you were putting into your character
Mm-hmm.
has been very appealing to me so far.
Okay.
And I'm coming from like raiding and mythic raiding in like World of Warcraft and stuff like that, and so like I enjoy progressing at whatever pace it may be.
Okay.
However, I do want to make sure that the time I'm putting into something is valuable. I have a lot of free time. I'm medically retired from the army, so I'm just at
Mm-hmm.
home all day. So I have a lot of time to like game and stuff. So I just want to make sure that I'm, properly spending my time on the character so that I can progress. I guess the best way possible.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
so yeah, like with basically like right now, my mindset is the sky's the limit. I just want to know, have the proper direction, right, and just see how far I can go from here until who knows when.
Yeah. So what I try to do with all of this is basically to find what is proper efficiency depending on what you enjoy. For some
Right.
people, the efficiency will just be like just literally just trying to aim for 100% on everything. Most people, and well, everyone has like some things that they are not willing to give up, and I think that's good. And by maintaining those things that you're not really willing to give up, and by maintaining a balance with that, that tends to get you further than just hardcore min maxing blanketly for everyone, because that tends to wear you out or burn people out after a while.
Right.
So I guess I'll kind of check like which kind of things have you found. Is it really just the grind, or are there other aspects of the game that you found really enjoyable that you definitely want to be able to keep doing?
At this point, now that I got to 10 and there's like more dailies that I'm unlocking, I just find myself um, kind of like just having this routine, right? Where I log in at a certain time. I typically log in when it's like Ursa's double time, and I just do Ursa's, do all the daily bosses, do the dailies and everything, and like at the end of the day, if I don't know if I want to try and like push some more levels, or if I want to like then get on work on a Legion character or something. It just that kind of routine
Mm-hmm.
I'm enjoying right now.
Okay.
Um, Especially because I can see the effort. Right, like for example, I think 2 days ago, my range was at like 700 buffed. I think it was like 500k unbuffed. It was like that was like 3 4 days ago.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just steadily seeing the increases
Yep.
throughout the weeks.
For sure.
I'm just right now I'm just enjoying that part of the process really more than anything.
Okay. That's good. And there's not anything that you've had to do or that you've been doing so far that you actually really, really disliked?
No, however, I think it's because I'm spoiled because of the burning event.
Probably, yeah.
Because I got the I right now I have the CRA set for free basically. I know it's gonna expire eventually, so like I don't think my experience would have been as smooth had I not had that set right now.
For sure.
So that's also why I've wondered really if I should just like eventually just level a character from scratch without any like burning events or anything, just to like get a feel of like the actual leveling experience, because I had none of that on the Demon Slayer. And even then I still took my time getting to 200 with the burning event. I took like, I want to say like a week or two getting to 200, just because I wanted to also work on like Legion characters along the way. I don't have many, but I didn't want to just power level to 200 and have no idea what to do afterwards or anything. So like I did watch like a couple of your videos and stuff to like kind of have an idea. But yeah, I've just been making it up as I go basically.
Yeah, because if you do just Terror Burn, crash to 200, there's a lot of stuff that at once comes at you at 200, because there's so many things that you kind of neglect because you're just leveling, and you can because of the Terror Burn. And then when you kind of look around and see all the things that you usually kind of like trickle into, like knowledge that gets, that you kind of pick up like every 10 levels, every 20 levels, you pick up something new. But now you have to pick all of that up at once. And if you don't, you walk into like a giant wall. Now you can maybe make it to like 210 because you get all of those free nodes as well from Terror Burn, and because the symbol, the arcane power in the beginning is very good, and you can get some arcane power from your hyperstats. So you can get over that initial bump at 200, but very quickly, like you're gonna get to Choo-Choo, and you're not gonna be able to kill anything there. And that's kind of like the pros and the cons, of the Terror Burn, that you've kind of already figured out that it's nice to level quickly, but it sets an example that will be, well, you probably already guessed, it's going to be impossible to follow for any other character that's not burning at the same time.
Right, and not just right now. The biggest thing I realized, especially yesterday, when I got to Choo-Choo and I leveled some of my, I started leveling the symbols.
Symbols, yeah.
Was that holy crap? Stuff is expensive.
Yeah, and it starts
so, like,
cheap, but it gets expensive real quick. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, that's where I'm like, well, sure, I could just sit down a full like 2 days, 3 days, just nonstop and level up as much as I can. But I'm just figuring when I get to the next stage, am I even gonna have like money to like, upgrade my stuff and everything? So like, I just want to make sure that I do it right, I guess.
Yeah.
And I was banking on leveling at Kana for the next Terror Burning event. But then I saw your video on the changes that they're gonna do, where you can no longer suicide on the Kana.
Yep.
So I don't even know if that's gonna be worth it down the line. Like, sure, maybe I can do it for a couple months, but then eventually it's not gonna no longer be a viable strategy. So I also want to figure out how I want to get a nice like income and everything, so I can do the things that I want to do in the game.
For sure. So for now, are you doing Ursus, Maple Tour, that kind of stuff?
Yes.
Okay. The other thing will be to like kill all the bosses that you possibly can and sell their crystals. I don't know if you've seen the Dailies command with all the crystal values and stuff there.
I have not. No.
Okay. So in general, like what you want to be kind of focusing on for any character is going to be the Dailies command. Kind of looks at what are the gains off of certain pieces of content in the game. So like, do they give a nice value crystal? Do they actually give a good experience? Do they drop flames? Do they drop soul shards that are useful for later on? Or do they drop relevant equipments that will help you progressing through the game? And is the boss fight itself at all helpful to you to learn? Like, does it bring you further mechanically through the game? Or is it just like some kind of DPS or patience check that is just kind of tedious? That's how I've categorized them. And then if you look at the second tab, you're looking at stream, right?
Yes.
And if you look at the second tab, you can kind of see by level to see which things I think are worth your time to look into.
Oh shit.
Now you can check some of these things and be like, okay, you can check what they give you and you're like, oh, I already have this thing and I don't really like it. Then you can drop it, of course. But these are like the ones to focus on. It's not to say that you can't do anything that's in the yellow and that you have to do everything that's in the blue. It's just a general direction of what I think is useful to spend your time in, especially in the beginning when you're kind of like trying to get used to everything. And then on the right hand side, I have hot links to like the wiki pages, so that you can see stuff like what their level is and what their PDR is, the defense and stuff. I don't know if you know about why level is important and PDR is important.
I'm sort of familiar. The one thing that I'm not fully familiar is the IED that I have, how it works with the IED that I get from my skills.
Sure. So one at a time. So the level is important because there's a level penalty based on how many levels you are underneath the boss. And if you know from back in the day in non-reboot, the penalty wasn't that bad. Well, back in the day, it used to work with accuracy, right? Like if you didn't have enough accuracy, your attacks would miss. Now what happens is if you're too many levels below, you just get a damage penalty. But in Reboot, it's actually quite severe. I think if you're 10 levels below, I think you're looking at a 50% penalty or something like that. That's under Maple's stats. So that's why you generally don't move to higher level monsters too quickly either, because your kill speed will drop so much that you don't actually go up in experience per hour. You actually go way down because you need way more hits to kill them. So that's why you generally stay closer to level of monsters. Let's see if we can find Reboot. Yeah, so 5 levels above, it gives you 10% final damage. That's like the max modifier you can get. And if you're 10 levels below, it's 50% final damage lost. So you just deal half of your actual damage. At 15 levels, you're looking at 87.5% loss. So you're dealing like 1/8 of your damage. So usually you don't go to the next level with higher level monsters that are like at most 5 levels above you. That's already 25% final damage lost. You can kind of pick that up usually, unless you're really, really strong. Yeah, like my hero was pretty decked out, so when I went to Arcana, I would kill monsters 15 levels above me, and I was just able to one-shot them, but that just means that, yeah, you're like way over where you would want to be, but that means like your nodes are perfect and maxed, and your gear is like well beyond, your arcane power is probably way higher than you would expect someone to be there. So in general, this is why we kind of stick to monsters around our level. So that's why it's important to know what level a boss is, because just like with CRA, it becomes available at 180. But if you look at CRA, for example, where are they at? CRA. Oh, they don't have the specific link because Vellum is specific. Well, let's take Vellum. Like that's normal Vellum. And Chaos Vellum is 190, so that's the 10 levels, right? So if you go at 180, you're dealing 50% reduced damage to him. You probably don't even have most of your equips lined up yet, and he has 200% PDR. So if you actually go at 180 with like what you normally have at 180, you're going to do no damage to this guy whatsoever. And that's when people kind of get panicky and they're like, well, it's level 150 gear and I'm already 180 and I can't kill him yet, so I guess I should get a carry because I'm probably way behind. But that's not how that works at all, right? It's very normal. And if you look here as well, you see where Chaos Vellum is. It's like, that's like when you're like 210, maybe to 220 on your very first character. That's when you reasonably have enough damage, when you have access to enough sources, and that's where you're really going to be in this state where you can start killing this boss. Those levels are just, that it accesses at 180 and everything. That balance is mainly based off of non-reboot, where the penalty is lower, they have access to way more sources of funding, so it's kind of out of whack for us. And a lot of people, I think, early on feel like they're way too weak, so they probably need a boost to get there. But all they actually need is just to grind it out a little bit more and be a little bit more patient, and they can definitely get there.
So I have a question. How does the I love the math behind all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
How does the IED interact with that 200% PDR? So like I guess what would be the threshold of how much IED I would need or how all that stuff interacts. How does that work?
Yeah, I was about to get to that. So there's the final.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no problem. There's the final multiplier on the level, and then there's a final multiplier on defense. So basically, what this means is that if the PDR is 200%, that means you will deal 200% less final damage than you would do normally if you have 0%. So that means you just deal 1 damage. Like, that's the least you can do. You can't do like negative damage and heal him. Well, you can in some situations, but that's not because of PDR. That's like a different boss mechanic. So if you have 0% IED and you hit this guy, you deal 0. All the way up until you have 50% PDR, that means you 50% IED will block half of the PDR. So then he would still have 100% reduction. You'd still just deal 1 damage. If you go above 50, that's when you start actually, damage starts getting through. Like if you have 51%, that means you block 102% of the 200, so 98% final damage reduction. So you'll deal 2% of your normal damage. And that's basically how it goes. Yeah. And then every line of IED is calculated individually on your current IED, on the part that you still need to get to 100%. So let's say you're at 50% and you add a line of 20%, you add 20% of the 50 that you're still missing. So 20% of 50%, it's 10%. So you go from 50 to 60 by adding a 20% line.
Oh, so it's multiplicative, the IED I get from skills?
Yes. So let's say that you already have 80 and you have a skill that has 30 innately. You'll add 30 of the 20% you're missing, so that's 6%. So you go from 80 to 86 effective when you hit a monster with that specific skill. And that brings us to the difference between visual IED and functional IED, where visual is what you see in your stat window, and that's kind of whatever skill you use on whatever target you hit, that's how much IED you will have. But functionally, you can already imagine like that might be different, because you could debuff a certain target, or you could use a certain skill that's buffed in a certain way, and then you would use the base IED of your stat window, but what kind of IED you actually apply to the boss might be a completely different number. So that's why the further you get into the game, you kind of have to do some calculations yourself and get like a feel for, okay, how much ID do I really need? Because and there's a calculator for that where you can just put all your sources in and it'll just tell you what your functional IED is. And that's more the guideline that we go for, because some classes might have a lot of IED built into their kit, which means that on items that can get IED, they won't need it as much or even at all than other classes who maybe they have way more boss damage, but then they don't have nearly any IED, so they will rely more on IED from other sources that they can get.
Got it. That's why I asked, because the thing is, like, almost all my abilities give me IED, and boss damage just by themselves. But I wasn't sure how it worked. I didn't know if it just added to it. So I don't know. I thought it would be. I figured it would be multiplicative. Yeah, because I was like, there's no way that like I'm already hitting 100% IED. Right? Yeah. Like I was like, well, I'm at 80, and then like I think it's called Demon Impact gives me 30. It was like, so I'm at 100. Am I 100 already? It's like there's no way.
Yeah, that would be like too easy. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so that's 30 of the 20, so 6, so you go to 86. Oh, that was actually the example that I gave randomly. Okay, nice. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So, well, we're actually talking about it in the chat just before this, but unless you have one specific source that gives you exactly 100%, your outcome will never be exactly 100%. You'll be like approaching it closer and closer. It's like that thing where two people stand a certain distance apart and you take like 20% of the distance, 30% of the distance, 50% of the distance, right? You never actually reach that person. You never get to that 100%, and every single percentage is like represents a smaller overall proportion, right?
Right.
But eventually you get closer and closer, and then so there's like a balance there between. Typically, the balance is between your attack percentage, your boss percentage, and your IED percentage, because those are the three lines of stat that are the most impactful to your overall damage to bosses. That can all three come from what we call the WSE, which is your weapon, secondary, and your emblem. And that's like the holy trinity of damage for your character, basically. So the balance between those three stats will get very important. Once you get past Vellum was made a little bit weaker in his PDR in a not too long ago update to 200%. He used to have 300%, but that was actually quite a little bit too high. Yeah. But all the bosses past him, I think Helix has 250, and then from Lotus and Damien on, everything beyond that has 300% PDR. So that's kind of like the balance. That's the number we use to base upon like how much IED do you want in total. So if your kit is very IED heavy, then you have to kind of incorporate that into your calculations for how much functional IED you need. And that will then represent how many lines of IED am I looking for in all of the sources that I have. Because it's going to end up being like a huge puzzle, right? Because a lot of stats can come from a lot of places. And some stats will be a little bit cheaper to get in one place. Which basically, are you familiar with opportunity cost?
Opportunity cost?
Yeah, it's like an economic term, but you can kind of apply it to here. Like, let's say that you have 10 points, right? And you can either put it in 10% critical rate or 10% IED, and then you have another place where you also have a certain amount of points to distribute. But there, if you put everything in IED, you only miss out on 5% crit rate, for example. Then the opportunity cost there is higher versus the critical rate than in the other place. So you always go for like it's like a checks and balancing thing where you try to optimize. And as you go through the game, that will also change. So kind of the difficulty is finding a way that gets you to the finish line that's roughly optimal without you having to redo everything every step of the way, right? Because that can get super, super tedious. So what I try to focus on is like...
expensive.
Yes, and expensive as well. Yeah. In time and in money, yes. So what I try to do is I have general numbers that you want to be aiming for, and as long as you're like approximating those numbers roughly, you're fine and you can just keep going. And then once you get to a point where you start leveling really, really slowly, or you start tackling a boss where you really need to optimize, then you can throw things into a calculator and be like, okay, I really want to see, am I like 1% off of my optimal damage right now, which is like, negligible, or am I like 8, 9, 10% off of my optimal damage, and could I just be significantly stronger? And that's when huge calculators come into play, and you just throw all your stats in, and you just let the computer decide, like, oh, you take these healing skills, combine it with your hyper stats here, you take, you use these skills in your matrix, and then you round it out with putting all of these characters into your Legion grid in these places, and then that will optimize your damage. You can be, all right, cool, I'll just do what you say, computer man, because you can do the math way better than I can. And at that point I check out too, because there's just too many variables at that point. But until there, what I have is the progression grid. I don't know if you've seen that one, and that one tries to track those numbers roughly. So that's what we're generally aiming for. So you're now here, right? You're like, and I go by level because I find that if I reduce everything to level, that seems to make the most sense. Mainly because of the reason I said before, because of the Dailies grid, where level does apply a lot when it comes to your final damage multiplier. So that's why I use that one as like the main guideline. A lot of people, back in the day, we used range, right? It was like, oh, range, right? Whenever you saw a fellow Night Lord, it was always like range. But then this will, So we kind of want to aim for all of these numbers. And of course, for your first character, it'll be way harder to actually be on there. But what you'll probably find a lot of the time is that you're either a little bit ahead in some things or a little bit behind in other things. And it's not necessarily bad. Like, let's say we just had a Star Force event. You might be a little bit ahead in Star Force, but then a little bit behind on stat because of your potential. Or if you just had a cubing event, you might be ahead in stat and in your potentials, but then you might be behind a little bit in Star Force and in your flames, and that's all fine. It's all like general aim. But like, of course, the further you go, the more all of those goals kind of like converge, and the smaller the variance will be from all of these sources, because the closer you'll get to min-maxing.
So the first time I started looking for your videos was actually because there was a inner ability event where it was like 50% off.
Mm-hmm.
I had it the day before. I had used, I think it was about 200k to roll from my inner ability, and then the next day it was like, oh, Sunny Sunday, 50% off inner ability. It's like, what the fuck is that? Are you serious?
Yep.
and I
Yeah.
had used everything the day before.
Mm-hmm.
I was like,
So
okay, no, I need to like know what the heck I'm doing before I like just start losing my mind.
for sure. So for that one, I have an event calendar that whenever we have patch notes, I put everything on there. So you can always know if there's been anything like that announced that will impact like how you do these things. And there's like general knowledge as well, like Star Force events. There tends to be 1 or 2 Star Force events at least every like 8 weeks roughly. So at a
Okay.
certain point, like there becomes a certain regularity to these things, and then the further and further you go, the more expensive these upgrades become. So you want to center those around these events to make sure that you're getting optimal value from your money. Because the way you have to see it is like, let's say you make 1 billion mesos and you spend it when there's no event. Well, then that means you made 1 billion mesos. But if you made 1 billion and you spend it during a 30% off event, that means that suddenly your money is worth 30% more, and you actually just made 1.3 billion in that time, effectively.
Right.
So you're increasing your rates retroactively by spending them at opportune moments. So whenever new events come out, so we have the patch coming out in 2 days, so I will be basically just adding a bunch of columns here on the side. Not too many probably, because all of this stuff is all going to stay, right? So it's probably going to be 2 or 3 extra ones with like skills that you will need to gather points, and an extra mini game probably, stuff like that.
Fuck bingo, by the way.
Yeah, bingo's a total scam. There's like 40 people, 50, 60 people in there, and then the first few people get like 3 coins. Yeah, it's a huge waste of time. Yeah, so I try to also make the distinction between things that give points and things that give coins, because points is character bound and every single character can do it, and coins tends to be account bound, where only one character per allotted time per day or per week can do it. And the coins, because there's a point bar and a limit to how many points you can get, there's a limit to how many coins you can get from points. But since things that give you straight up points, they don't go in the bar because they're not points, they can go on top of things. So when people talk about coin cap, it can always be a little bit confusing, because technically the coin cap is getting the most coins and points in the same day on one character. So you could technically only cap for coins on one character. But events tend to always have both the sources, most of the time. So I try to make that distinction so people don't get confused when it comes to what gives points, what gives coins. Although in the patch notes, they tend to mix those terms up, so it can get a bit confusing at times. But so I try to keep that separate. Yeah, I do add the burning world and everything.
About the coins.
Yeah, sure, go for it.
Is it worth it, especially as a new player,
Mm-hmm.
to do it on multiple characters?
I would say so, yeah. In general, event shops and stuff like that are most valuable for people in early, mid, and like the beginning of late game. That's where they're most valuable.
Okay, because I'm sitting on like 4K right now, because I don't want to spend on something that I shouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was waiting to.
For sure.
Especially for this.
And there's sales sometimes.
Right now.
Sometimes there are sales, although it seems that we're moving away from coin sales for event stores. KMS seems to have not done that for the last 2 big event shops, which does mean that you have a little bit more freedom to spend whenever you want. But in general, I would always advise to just wait. So big event shops in general, if there's any kind of way of tiering up your rank or accessing more shops or anything like that, usually I would say 99% of the time that's worth investing your points in. And in general, the way that you want to do that is you would want to buy those upgrades with another character, so you don't spend coins from your main character to just doing the ranking up and the accessing of the content. Rather, you spend coins on like a Legion Mule or whatever you're leveling, and then you go full hard on the main character that you want to buy things with. And like things in your situation, the things that are most valuable are things like nodes. Those are very valuable. And then maybe like depending on how many items you've got going, something like potential scrolls, like epic potential scrolls, those could be valuable. And those Star Force scrolls, those are valuable. And then flames come in a little bit later. Symbols can start coming in, but I would say that's Lecheline and up, so like 220 plus. That's when you can start doing Lecheline, the symbols as well.
Oh, so you don't recommend buying the first 2 symbols?
Typically, no. I think value-wise, there's other things you can get that give you more value, because Vanishing Journey and Choo Choo, not only do they give among the most symbols per day of all of the areas, you also start them the earliest, so you're going to be maxing them the earliest as well.
Makes sense. Okay. Okay, makes sense. Awesome.
Yeah, so if there's going to be, so the Sunny Sundays, I have those here. So I just take a screenshot of the patch notes, and then all the Sunny Sundays will always be here. So you can look like, oh, there's going to be a Star Force event then. Then you want to make sure that you make like a list. Okay, these characters, I want to Star Force these and these things. Or like, oh, I'm getting experience coupons. Oh, that I didn't pick up yesterday, by the way. And then be like, okay, that means I want to pick those up on this character so I can train that day. You can plan ahead a little bit with stuff like that. And then I will always, yeah, like in 2 days I'll replace this picture with the new one, and then it'll be updated. And then if you want to look,
there's new ones coming.
Yeah, so what they've been doing now. In the past, there was this thing called Hot Week, where for like a whole week, if you logged in, you would get like a certain reward, and if you did every single day, and then on Sunday you could double up on a reward from the week. But they've moved away from that completely, and now they've basically just been doing Sundays, just like every Sunday is a Sunny Sunday, and they're just rotating between the rewards. So one of them is 50% off invulnerability. There's a 1+1 Star Force event up to 10, which basically means if you're successful, you get 2 stars instead of 1, and that works all the way up to 10. So you can go from 10 to 12 as well. That's like the highest it works. So that's really good for Star Forcing low-level characters, and again, just a lot of Star Force. The other one is 30% off, so that's typically the best event to get up to 15 stars. And then there's a 5, 10, 15 event, which gives you 100% success from 5 to 6, 10 to 11, and 15 to 16. And that's typically the best to go anywhere beyond 15 stars. That's when you want to use that event the most. Then there's Magnificent Soul event, which talks about those soul shards I talked about earlier, right, from the bosses, where it gives you 5 times the chances to get a Magnificent Soul, which is typically gives you more stats and is a better summon. Usually, the usual chance is 1% chance. So during that event, it gives you 5% chance. So,
I don't know. I think I got lucky on that. I got like one of those. I don't know, the soul thing. Like I put it on my weapon, and I got it on the first try. Turned into a soul weapon on the first try.
Oh,
So,
yeah,
like,
that's
I
a
don't
soul
know.
enchanter, yeah. So there's 2 things. So there's a thing that can make your weapon into a soul weapon, which means
Okay.
it can gather soul energy from monsters. Those are those little purple balls that fly around, and that charges your weapon, which means that your weapon can get up to 20 weapon and magic attack when it charges that energy. And then the second thing is, once it's a soul weapon, it means you can imbue a boss soul into it. So the one that you have
The
imbued
Von
in.
Leon one.
Yeah,
right?
you have the flashy Von Leon. So if it's Von Leon and whether it's magnificent or not, that determines what skill you get to access for having it on your weapon. And then the prefix determines what your base stats are. So the flashy one gives you all stats plus 10. So if you ever die, your energy goes down to 0, and typically you only die at boss fights, and typically you don't really kill a lot of monsters in boss fights. So then that 20 weapon and magic attack kind of goes away. So the further you go into the game, the more you want high level bosses and the magnificent terms of the bosses, so that those base stats, the 10% all stat that you get, that we get higher buffs on those, because those always stay in your weapon even if you died. So for those, what we do, we look at the exclamation mark dailies, and we look at bosses that drop double S tier souls. Those are the ones at the highest ranks, and those will give you the best stats on your final weapon. So that's why those tend to come back in your daily list. Even if you're way beyond the level, like they will keep going forever, basically. Even if they're like, wait, why is that silly boss, like it doesn't drop anything useful anymore? The souls. You always want to keep gathering the souls, always stockpile them, and then wait until a Magnificent Soul event, and then try to get a Magnificent. Because not only is the Magnificent higher rank, but the stats that it gives is also random. So you need more of them, because once you use it, you might get a random stat that you don't actually like. You could get like 3% magic attack, which would do absolutely nothing for you, and then you have to use another one.
Got it.
So there's there's RNG in getting the drop. There's then RNG in getting the Magnificent, and then there's RNG in using the Magnificent and getting the stat you want. So there's like 3 lines of of defense of RNG. So yeah, you're gonna need a lot of them, and you just save them up until Magnificent Soul event.
Makes sense.
What are some other events? I mean, usually there's events where you get like 20 Soul Enchanter, not Soul Enchanter, sorry, like symbols. Oh yeah, and sometimes there's these days where runes have shorter cooldowns, so you can use them more often, and the combo orbs give you more experience. So during those days, it's very good to train at the level in general. And then there's some other stuff, yeah. If there's an event like these, then usually every Sunday there's like doubling of the point cap and doubling of the point acquisition. Not of the coins, just of the points. And that'll help you, yeah, build up more for the event shop. And then sometimes there were event sales, usually like once or twice during long events. But it seems that KMS is moving away from that, and we're seeing GMS copy that. So. But yeah, all that stuff will always be there. Yeah, so if you want to make sure that at least in the next 8 weeks you're not making any huge mistakes, you can use this. Yes, and then based on your income, you can be like, well, I mean, I'm gonna take this risk. We recently had a 5, 10, 15, but I couldn't make it, and I really need and I really can make a lot of games with Star Force. In general, only spend if you need the upgrade, not because you want to, because if you do it just because you can or want to, then there's no end in sight and you will just always be out of money. If you only do it when you need it, when you need the upgrade, and then there's a functional event for it, you're gonna like yourself for that in the long run. You can kind of brute force a little bit early on when there's a smaller difference between doing it on and off event, but the further you go, the differences will get huge. And we have calculators for Star Forcing, for example, like how much does it cost on an event, off an event. And we're at the lower ends, it's like, oh, it's an extra 20 mil, it's whatever. And then when you go at the higher end, it's like, oh, it's an extra 18 bill per item. Like maybe wait a little bit, because it gets.
So I guess if I want
crazy.
to do all that stuff, I have to establish a character that I can farm on efficiently. Then, right?
Yes. So that brings us back.
I don't think bossing is reliable.
Well, that's how I do it, but you have to enable a lot of characters to do it, and you have to have a certain desire for progress that it makes sense for to do it that way. I don't have the desire to be the strongest, to get super far. Like, that's not enjoyable necessarily for me. I just like enjoy getting there with characters. Like, the whole journey is way more fun for me. So actually kind of forcing myself to go through all the stages of the bosses and kind of having trouble doing it, that's what actually makes the game really enjoyable for me. So that's how I do it. And then I end up with a bunch of characters that can do bosses, and then all of that money adding up still nets me like 4 to 5 bill a week, and that's more than enough for me. And then if I train, that all goes on top of it, but generally I don't train. But that's what makes sense for me. But if you actually like the grind and you like putting in that time, like I hate it. I hate training. I hate grinding. So I like stay away from it as long as possible. But if you like that, then yes, making a Kana farmer will probably be the most efficient thing for you. And yes, even if you, with the changes coming up, that's most likely only going to hit us in 6 months. You can well make your money back and a lot more with a Kana farmer. The downside is that there are a lot of botters these days, and maps are very, very full. That is not to say that you can't still make good rates with Kana on their 4th, 5th, 6th best map that are not taken yet. But that does also mean you have to compete with a lot of people that aren't maybe even necessarily people, or you have to get into guilds and discords where people literally have like timetables and schedules lined out of who takes which map when, and that kind of stuff. Or you have to have a huge buddy list of people where it's like, hey guys, if you're training and you're gonna leave your map, give me your map for like 2 hours and then I'll give it back, that kind of stuff. So there is some work involved to get those rates. What I like also about not doing that, for me personally, is I can just go on whatever character I want to train on. They probably have a good rate. It's probably available because it might be in a higher end, or it might just have a different map layout. And then I can just train. And what I do is I get gear with Meso-Obtain and drop rate as you would on a farmer, but I get that on my main character. And you have to, that means that all the other gear that you have has to be a little bit stronger to compensate for that loss, of course. But once you get to that point, you can make. Of course, you don't make as many mesos. You don't make as good rates, but you make You make roughly comparable. You'll make like 60 to 80% of what they make. But at the same time, you're making full experience still on your character as long as it is not detrimental for your killing speed. So you're not really choosing one or the other. You're doing like 1.5. You're doing training plus like half of the money. So in the end, I feel like you're doing kind of like 1.5 instead of choosing one or the other. And that's what works for me. That makes me feel like I'm making progress in both ways without necessarily having to choose.
I feel the same way. Because that's why I'm thinking, kind of dreading the leveling the karma, because I just know that because I'm just doing it for the mesos, it just, even though I know I'm getting money, it just feels that time I could just be spending it on my main, or like
so there's one important thing.
My character.
Yeah, but there's one important thing in that, and then that's that you will get those good rates and you will get that good progress on your main, but you'll be limited to how many totems you have access to. Totems, you've heard and seen about totems, right?
Just the free ones that I've gotten from like the daily logins.
Yeah, so there's 2 from daily logins every month, and then there's 15 that you can buy in the I'm totally blanking on the reward shop.
Okay.
So that's a total of 17. So that's 34 hours of spawn rate that you can have on your main character. You can solve some of that by making like a kana on a second computer. So that's what people refer to when they say like 2PC meta, when they had a kana on a laptop that they would bring along to spawn their rates. But now that Kishin's uptime went down to 50%, if you're just like AFKing on the other computer pressing the button, you'll have like half of the time you'll have like the regular rate, and then half of the time you'll be like looking where are the monsters, which will be really awkward. There's like ways to extend it, but it's pretty expensive. Some people just bought, other people put an extra keyboard on the ground and smash some keys and make their character weak to trigger a skill.
That just did not sound enjoyable.
I mean, yeah, whatever you want to do to get that grind, right? The other thing is on the off time when you're done with your 34 hours, I don't know if you do like 2 hours a day, that's 17 days, and then you have 14 days left, right? On those 14 days, what people do is they play on the kana. Because at that point, they're not giving up that 1.5, but they're giving up like 0.75 because it's like half speed or even lower because there's no totem. So they're actually gaining at that point. So that's why a lot of people have the mule kana on the side and they have the main that they're training on, because there's more time to cover there than the totems can cover at this point. So in that light, I think if you have as much time as you want and you do like the grind, I think it would make sense to make a kind of farmer, yeah.
Okay.
For you.
I'll try it. Because also, if you say that, I can just make a bunch of like from the Legion characters and just get them through bosses and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it is a viable alternative, that that may sound interesting. Again, I haven't played Kana yet. Maybe I'll level it up. I end up liking it.
Yep. You might. The thing is that it's just very strong, but the other thing is that it's a lot of people don't like the playstyle, but they kind of still play it because it's just so good at like everything.
Right.
Yeah. And, the other thing is, if you do like the concept of like having the boss characters and all of that, so the main reason that people make really good rates, kana, blah, 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 because in Arcana, what happens at a certain point, you have very good clear rates, and then they suicide the character to stay at the level, right? And then when that changes, people will out-level Arcana within 3 days of training or something. Because they're such good farmers, they also make extremely good experience rates. And as a result, they level very quickly. So what could happen is you go to the higher level areas, but at a certain point, those rates that Kanas make aren't even really going to be competitive anymore with some characters, because there will be other characters, like total coincidence, like a Demon Slayer, who can actually make competitive rates with Kana at the 255 plus area, pretty simply too.
Okay.
And since we're 6 months out of that happening, if you slowly start working on your Legion and start feeling out like which characters do you like more, some characters that are really easy to make mules that can get to like clearing CRA very quickly are things like Dual Blade, an Arc can do it very easily, Adele can do it very easily, Hero, these classes can get to clearing CRA super quick, Nightlord probably as well. So if you can already get those rolling and get those to a certain level of funding where you can rely on that income, then even if you go for the farming kana and you go a few levels and then it kind of, that avenue kind of like flows out, then you'll have something else in place immediately. Hopefully you have a higher level DS who can then pick up some of the losses of the rates, and you can have those other bossing mules that you rely on more then, and then you won't have as much of a dip as other people who haven't planned ahead and who have kind of like let it just, oh, it's 6 months away, oh, it's 5 months away, it's like, oh shit, it's next week, oh, because you're also going to be at a point where all the upgrades you're making are going to be super expensive, so then it's going to hit extra hard if your income goes down.
Okay.
Yeah. So what does that mean overall? Once your character starts getting high node levels and high arcane power, you're just going to be mowing down maps almost regardless of whatever equips you're wearing. And at that point, you want to really start focusing on... Well, to get to that point, you're usually focusing on the potential of your weapon, secondary, and emblem that I mentioned before. And then after that, usually what you start worrying about is your accessories, because that's where your drop rate and meso-obtain comes from. And as soon as you can start guaranteeing yourself that every monster drops at least one bag, and then you can maximize how much money is in a bag, then you can start making very decent rates. And to optimize on that, you'll need to make wealth acquisition potions, which are kind of hard to make, but as long as you harvest all of the big flowers you see and extract your items, you should have all the resources necessary.
I've been doing that.
Yeah, that's good. And then the other thing is that you'll want the Legion coins. So, in order to stockpile those, you'll need to work a little bit on Legion every day on the side, just to make sure that evenly is coming up. And I did say, you did mention that you were doing that, but, but there's still a lot of work there to be done, right? Because you have like 911 now. So,
yes.
To compare to my mom who has 8.2k right now, there's still some room for growth.
Absolutely, yeah.
And you see the next two characters that you level as well are immediately going to be able to be put into your Legion as well, because there's just availability for them. So how are you with Legion? And do you have any specific questions about like what to do with Legion, or like how certain things about Legion work? Because
Well, no, because I've been following. You have like a grid, with like I guess a rough tier list, and I've just been following that. Like I got the Mercedes was like the very first one I got up, then. The Luminous was like 95, like when I came back to the game, it was like 95, so I just pushed it to 120.
Yep.
And then I did, was it Evan? For the...
I hope so, yeah, that's a really good one.
Orbs.
Mm-hmm.
And then...
For the runes, Aaron is Aaron is the orbs? The names are similar, so I don't know which one you did.
Oh, the orbs. Okay, so I did the one for the orbs to 120. And then the one with the dragon, I absolutely hate that class, so I just left it at 70.
A lot of people not a fan. Yeah.
I need to force myself to get it to 120.
What you could do is maybe if there's a Mega Burn, you could use it for that. Mega Burn gets up to level 151 and gives you 3 levels past level 10. So that could be a good candidate to Mega Burn then. That's usually what I advise people. If you try out the people in the order. If there's a class you just absolutely hate, just set it aside. Like if you can get it to 70, then set it aside and just put it on a list for whenever Mega Burn comes, and then boom, make a priority one for Mega Burn, and then that's just trouble for later, and then you don't have to worry about it right now.
Now, question: Is it better to level up the classes that give flat main stat first, like the like Buccaneer, for example? Like I leveled the Buccaneer because it gave strength, plus it gave the Pirate's Blessing. Should I just level up those first, like get like 3 Pirates to 120 to get the max Pirate Blessing and stuff, or should I go for the percent like final damage stuff first and stuff like that?
So the reason I have the order that I do is not necessarily what adds the most damage to your main, but it's what adds the most damage to your account. So like regardless of which character you're playing, they will get the biggest buffs, because that way those characters will all level faster, and that will eventually make it so that your main character gets the strongest the fastest.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay.
So like maybe if your DS doesn't necessarily need critical rate, because maybe you have built-in critical rate or you already have 100%. By leveling the Lynx and the Legion with critical rate first, you'll give all your other new characters critical rate, and critical rate is insanely important because without it, your critical damage doesn't come into play. You need to hit a crit to hit that critical damage. So if you make your critical rate high, you can make your base kill speed on your new characters super high because all of the critical damage will come into play, and then those will level way faster than they did before, and then that will result in your Legion snowballing way faster, and you'll start seeing results on your main character faster.
Okay. Alright. By the way, they're all not at 120 because what I'm doing is I'm just log in, kill Sakum on each of them every day, and they're just like slowly gaining levels that way.
No, that's fine. Yeah, you'll get some flames, you'll get some cubes. They'll probably get some eye and face accessories on the way there as well. Because you see their raid power. You know how that all works?
Something about like a Star Force and their level.
Yeah.
Combined or something.
Yeah, exactly. So Star Force and level determines how high that is, and then all of the characters that are in your grid, their raid power gets added up, and that's your Legion raid power that you see on the right. And that's the damage that have you done your dailies? Have you like fought that dragon?
Yes.
So that's this damage is like what gets dealt to that pink shield every second, all added up. And then for every 100 billion damage they do, you get 1 coin. So as that gets rolling and you get more and more characters in there, you'll start getting a lot of passive income from coins without even having to go in there and fight the dragon. Now, of course, the dailies are huge in the beginning, right? Because you can get 30 a day, and then your characters themselves are making like 3 or 4 coins. They're not doing much. But like where I'm at, I'm making those 30 coins a day from the dailies, but passively, my characters are making like 380 or 390 coins a day. And that's when you can really start... Yeah, a day, yeah. Because like my raid power, I think, is 490 mil now. So and it just starts hitting super, super hard. But the reason that you get that is how strong are those characters in there. Their Star Force matters a little bit, but their level is the most important thing. And one thing you'll also notice is that once you get because now they have rank A, right? Rank A characters in there. They take up, is it 2 spots? No, you have B.
They give me 2 spots right now.
Yeah, 2 spots. And then once you get to 140, they give up 3 spots. So it's 50% more coverage, which is huge in the beginning, right? Because, you go from 10 to 15 squares with the exact same amount of characters covered. And then your grid bonus is going to start peaking as well.
Okay.
So that's good.
So I should get them to 140 then eventually.
Yeah. And 140, then you can just start focusing on other characters. But yeah, get a new character, try to get it to 100. If you can't, put it on a list for a Mega Burn. If it's really, really good character to actually get to 210 for the level 3 link or the level of the rank S, not S, double S buff in Legion is so good that you eventually want it to 200, then maybe put it on the list for Terra Burn, right? Okay. And then if you do like it, get it to 100, Zakum, and then just Zakum every day up to 140, and then you could just completely ditch it, do another character. If you find yourself you got like 5 or 6 characters to Zakum in a day, well then just don't make a new character. Wait until you have 1 or 2 of those done, so you free up a little bit of space. Unless you like it. If you like that grind, then go for it. But just try to maintain that balance. If you're feeling like you're losing 3 hours every day on Legion and you're not feeling like you're really moving forward with your main character, then just cut a few out and then focus on your main character a bit more.
Makes sense.
We could do like a quick comparison, I guess, because I mean my Legion is obviously like a lot of work. You're gonna get there soon, but if you see the difference between your member bonus and your grid bonus, right? And then you see mine. Like that's what you're eventually. Every single character that you just log into will just have this,
Jesus, the IED, the boss damage.
Yeah, like a chunk of 40 IED, 40 boss, 20 crit damage. That's huge. You can get some extra crit rate. And I haven't actively worked on my Legion in like 2 years. If I had, this would probably be completely filled, or I would go into buff duration, I think. That can also be very useful for a bunch of characters. I believe it's also useful for Demon Slayer. But last time someone asked why, and I couldn't actually come up with a name, come up with a reason. But I think it has to do with that Dark Metamorphosis, I think?
For the buff duration? Yeah.
I think. Oh, someone
Oh,
says Boundless Rage
wait, yep.
uptime. Someone says.
Let me see here real quick.
Oh, is Boundless Rage the one that makes it so that you cost
Demon
no demon
Awakening.
force?
Demon Awakening is like my biggest,
But that's fifth job,
I guess
right?
DPS. You know? Yeah, that's fifth job.
Yeah, fifth job is not does not get multiplied by buff duration, sadly.
Oh, really?
Yeah, otherwise I think everyone would always just stack buff duration because their
Oh
fifth
no.
jobs are like the
Okay.
best skills, right? Yeah, it's because of Boundless Rage. I think that's when
Oh,
the
Blue Blood.
costs.
No, Blue Blood is also really important.
Yeah, but that's a hyper
But
stat. Also doesn't get buff duration.
it got it. Okay.
So buff duration doesn't work on hypers and fifth jobs, but skill cooldown does not work on hypers, but does work on fifth jobs.
Okay.
So that's why Mercedes is also very nice because it also gives you a little bit of cooldown reduction in the when you put it in the Legion. Yeah, so yeah, with Boundless Rage you don't use any Demon Fury, Demon Force for any attack, so that's why it's really good to buff that. That's why you'll sometimes see people who have like intermediary abilities, kind of like you have, but then they'll just have like 50% buff duration as their top line and nothing else, and that'll also still be like a really good placeholder if you're going to be bossing mainly. If you're mainly going to be mobbing and grinding, then just Meso Obtain and Drop Rate can also be very good. Drop Rate for extra nodes, Meso Obtain for extra Meso, of course.
Okay.
I know about the difference between Meso Drop Rate and Meso Obtain.
No, I do not.
So every monster has like a certain amount of chance to drop Meso, and that'll usually be like one of those bags. And you want to get every monster for all the significant monsters in the game only have the chance to drop one bag. So you want to get them to 100% chance to drop one bag, and that's when you get that's when the Meso Drop Rate will be at its max. But there will be lines that specifically say Meso Drop Rate, but there will also be Item Drop Rate. Item Drop Rate does both Meso Drop Rate and all the other items, but Meso Drop Rate only does specifically the drop rate for Meso bags. So that could be nice, but if you already have enough drop rate to make the whole drop rate for a bag 100%, then you don't need specifically Meso Drop Rate on top of that. It won't specifically do anything. And then Meso Obtain determines how much is in the bag when it drops. And there's also a maximum multiplier for that. So the maximum for most normal situations would be to get, you can get a little bit of percent from your Phantom card. I think 3, 4, 5%, depending on what rank it is like usually what you get there. You can get up to 20% from your Invulnerability in the Legendary line, that one stacks. And then you can get up to 100% from your equips, from your accessories, what I was talking about earlier, right? After the Weapon Secondary Emblem. So typically you have 9 accessories that you can wear that can give either Meso or drop rate. And so typically you go for 4 that give drop rate, so you can maximize and get that 100%. And then you get 5 that give Meso Obtain, so you can stack the maximum amount of Meso Obtain for whatever in the bags. And that's like your ideal configuration. And if you can, on those items, get also 1 line of strength along with it, then, you know, since it's 9 items, if you can get 9% on all of them, that's 81% strength extra, and that'll help you not lose too much damage in your when you're in what we call the drop set. That's probably what you've heard. Like, I'm in drop gear, I'm in farm gear, something like that. Mm-hmm. That's what people mean.
Yeah, but now it makes sense why.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the other thing that messes with your money is, again, the level difference between monsters. If you're more than 10 levels above a monster, you'll start getting reduced Meso. It's only a little bit in the beginning, but after a while, you'll notice that if you kill very low-level monsters, you don't get any money whatsoever, right? And it's not because items don't drop anymore, but it's because you have 100% final damage Meso penalty on them. You can still get all the other items. You can still get equips to drop. You can get those twisted times. You know, you can still get all the drops, but the Meso is reduced by 100%, so that doesn't appear anymore.
Okay.
And that's what you'll see. A lot of information, but I think you're soaking it up like a sponge right now. So
yeah, it's fine. It's perfect. Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. So how is the Matrix? Because I know from experience that's a lot for new people coming back.
Yes, I have not touched my Matrix. Right now I'm sitting on like 700 what's it? Node points or something from stuff I've like destroyed.
Node shards, yeah.
Yeah, shards, and I have like 6 or 7 pages of just stuff.
1, 2, 3.
Um,
Yeah, at least 6 by the looks of it here. Yeah, might have been 7. Huh?
yeah. So I have a bunch of stuff there. I have one Trino that I'm leveling. That
Mm-hmm.
it's like Cerberus Chomp, Final Impact, and Infernal Concussion. Demon Impact, sorry.
Demon Effect. Yeah.
And Infernal, yeah. That's like the main one I'm leveling,
Mm-hmm.
because it has the Infernal Concussion for mobbing, and the Demon Impact and Cerberus Chomp for like bossing.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just like leveling that one right now. And I'm looking for another Trino that like has the other 3 that I use.
Mm-hmm. There are more options
I
now,
don't.
right? So in the beginning, you start with not too many slots, right? So in the beginning, you want to be very particular with which skills pop in there. And as you get higher level, you get access to more slots. You can have more outs, basically. So the more combinations will actually be the ones that you're eventually looking for. So if I look at the theme matrix for Demon Slayer, it seems that you want any kind of combination between Demon Impact, Demon Lash, Cerberus Chomp, Infernal Concussion, and Demon Cry. These are like your 5 main skills. But as you know, like 5 skills, and you wanna boost each skill twice, right? Do you know about how all that works with the boost nodes and the levels?
Yes. Is it worth like right now? Is it worth it to just keep leveling that Trino that I have, or like just have a second Trino and level that to like level 10? You know what I'm trying to say? Because like the
Well, the
higher
answer
level
is
you go,
yeah,
the more experience you need, right?
for sure, yeah, yeah.
So like, is it better to just dump all the experience on that Trino that I have right now, or just get a second one to level 10?
Yeah, so for you it's a bit tricky. You're going to be mainly mobbing now, right? Not bossing.
Yes. Yeah.
I the map clear with that 4th V. The name escapes me, but like the giant attack that just keeps on
Infernal
hitting.
Concussion.
No, the 5th job skill that just hits like 16
Oh,
million thousand
the
lines.
snake. The snake.
Well, the snake is just like a put down, but the other one, the other one that you have to hold down the whole time.
Oh, Demon Bane.
Demon Bane, yeah, Bane.
The new one.
Yeah, that's also like a full map clear, and then that just clears the map for a while, right? But it only has
Yeah.
2-minute cooldown as well. Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, the main thing is during Demon Awakening, you're going to be using Demon Lash a lot.
Yep.
And
That's
never,
like my rates when I'm using that ability, the Demon Awakening with Orthrus, is like, I don't know. I kill like at least 3 times, 4 times faster.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
like crazy when I have that up.
uh-huh. Yeah, no, there's just damage coming from everywhere, and Demon Slayer is getting like more buffs as well soon, so it's gonna be great. Basically, yeah, you can just keep what you're doing with the chomp and everything, and slowly level that up. But behind that, you definitely want to be searching for those tri-nodes that will complete your set. So you want 1 more chomp, 1 more impact, 1 more concussion. You want 2 more lashes, and then 2 more cries, I think, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have a cry yet.
So that's 7 lines that you need, and there's 3 on every node. So there's going to be at least 3 more nodes that you need. So there's also going to be like a 6th skill, but since that one is kind of variable, that gives you more outs for possible combinations that will get you those last 3 nodes. So basically, any node that you get that has at least 2 of those skills or 3 of all of those lines that you need, you keep those.
Okay.
So that you...
Is it worth fishing for them? Like spending my points to like...
Not yet,
craft,
because you
like-
don't really have the slots to equip them yet anyway.
Okay.
So you could be a bit more patient for a while. Once you unlock like 1, 2, 3 more slots and you still don't have them, you can definitely start crafting. One thing you can do is with the skills that you're probably not going to use for a long time, like Decent Advanced Blessing, and Hyper Body, like you can extract those. Decent Mystic Door, like those kind of things, you can immediately get rid of those. And the ones that you do have and that you're going to keep, always level those up as much as possible to not get like a huge clutter of nodes going on. Like you have an extra holy symbol, I see, so you can level that one with the one that you already have, right? You can put the 3 weapon auras, you can level those up together. That way it gets you get a little bit better of a systematic overview of like what you have. And you can keep it a little bit
Gotcha.
cleaner, and you can also get a better look at how many shards do you actually have available. Because there's no point in having like a few thousand shards laying around. You might as well try a little bit. But yeah, your main focus is definitely going to be on Demon Lash and on trying to find that second Demon Impact. That's going to be important. Because yeah, you're going to need 3 more nodes, and at least 2 of them are going to have a Demon Impact on it. So it's going to be priority.
So on that note, I should get as many node stones as I can from the coin shop.
Yes, yeah. Node stones are by far the most important thing because of the final damage it gives you. And then once you have another boost node, you always want to equip that in the highest level slot that you have, because that's like an instant 10% extra final damage on the skill if it's level 5.
Okay.
And do you know about the leveling of the nodes and like how far you need to go? Well, it kind of ties into this, right? Because you can go up to level 50 per skill, and then an extra plus 10 from the level of the slot itself. But then in total,
so it goes up to 100%.
It goes up to, well, it goes up to 60 boosts, and depending on what level what job the skill is from, the percentage will be different. If you level up a very low job skill, it'll be like plus 7% per line, and then it could go up to like plus 420%. But that's never competitive, so there's only like a few niche situations where some characters actually go for third and second job skills. But and one I think where people actually go for a first job skill. But other than that, usually you just boost your fourth job skills, because the lower job skills, their damage might be good enough, but they won't hit a big enough area or hit enough targets to be relevant.
Okay.
So it usually be 2% per level, yeah. So the highest you can get is plus 120%. Once you have you have it on 2 different boost nodes. They're both level 25, which is the highest level, and you have it in a level 5 slot, which is the highest level for that.
Okay.
And then, yeah, what some classes might do is they would divide it over 3 boost nodes and then take advantage of 3 leveled up slots and then get to 60 that way, but it'll still max out to 60, so then in the end they will have to consolidate their nodes again and redo them. But which, yeah, if you ever have to redo your nodes, as long as the top skill is the same one, you can just use it as a boost node, and 100% of the efficiency will carry over, so there's no loss there. But if you have to right click and disassemble, then there's a very heavy penalty there on how much you get back in shards, so you want to avoid that as much as possible. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay, good.
Absolutely.
Yes. Cool. Don't you have like a few skills that give like 100% crit rate or something? I'm thinking, but
Most of my skills are 100% crit. Like, Demon Impact crits all the time, Demon Cry crits all the time, Infernal Concussion's always critical strike. And then Demon Awakening gives me 50% crit, level 1. And then the more I level it up, it gives me more crit rate. I don't know how much when it's maxed.
That's pretty crazy. So, well, that would mean that something like decent sharp eyes that you have right now might be better to switch it out with something else. Maybe with decent speed infusion to get closer to the attack speed cap, so that if you use speed infusion and the green pot, you can actually hit 2 ranks of attack speed higher. That'll make your attack speed a little bit better for mobbing and for bossing. Or that will give you space if you get an extra boost node that's useful to throw the extra boost node in there, which will probably also be pretty useful.
Is the 8% critical damage even worth it?
So it is, but eventually.
Okay.
Your boost nodes are so much more impactful for your overall damage output than 8% critical damage is right now. Because like we said, like your boost nodes can go up to 120% final damage. 120 final damage versus 8% crit is not even remotely close to being a competition. Yeah.
I mean, I don't mind. That's one less like buff I have to like.
yeah. It's gonna get worse in the end, so you don't want to like take up too much when it's not absolutely necessary. You want to, save yourself.
There's so many like buff. I mean, I'm sure there's classes that have like more stuff to maintain. But like,
not many. Like your burst prep for DS is like among the highest in the entire game. I think it's 14
I just feel
skills.
Like I have to stare at the boss and like, wait, hold up. Like, I'm almost done, and just sitting there just buffing and like.
Yeah, for sure.
A bunch of like cooldowns.
If people are like bind is in 10, you have to like start pressing buttons so that you have them remote. Yeah, Arc is kind of the same. I think it's Angelic Buster, Arc, and DS. I think have both have somewhere between like 13 and 16 buttons to press to like fully prep for burst. Some other characters have more static buffs, but then when burst happens, they have to press like 3 or 4, and then they're good. I think like Hero has to press I think 4 buttons, and then you're just good. You just hold one other one down, and you just go crazy. You just go ham. But I mean, it does also result in the end game to a lot of damage, so it is worth it. But yeah, now even with Demon Bane, some people are trying to use Demon Bane like off burst because they're already getting so much damage from everything else. By using this off burst, they can actually increase their DPM. People are experimenting with that. At a certain point, you just have so many buffs that maybe you have to spread them out over, over like every other burst, because you're losing so much time prepping that you're actually cutting into your damage, and it's not even beneficial anymore. So yeah, it might actually move to like having 2 different types of bursts. But yeah, people are experimenting, so we'll see what super high level people say. But yeah, all of your 5th job skills are just really good, so you basically always have, they're both good for mobbing and for bossing as well, so you just always rely on those for a lot of your damage. But yeah,
there's
boost notes.
one 5th job skill that I don't have, just because based on what I read, it's pretty useless.
Oh,
it's
Mastema?
Like
yeah.
Yeah, so I haven't bothered with that one.
Yeah, no, it does a little bit of damage, and it can help you survive stuff, but it's not super reliable in either one of those two. So it's also one, once you get to 275, this whole screen is going to be completely available, and you're actually, with the level 300 level cap upgrade, you're even going into the second page of node slots. So at that point, you're just throwing anything in that does anything, and then the cat. Then it's literally look what dragged in the cat at that point. He gets a time to shine then when you find some like F12 or something on your keyboard is still available.
I haven't even bothered with that ability.
Oh god, yeah. Once we get into our second keyboard meta for all the skills, that's when the cat starts.
Oh, I have an MMO mouse, so I have a bunch of keys on my on my thumb. So.
Did you hear me joke about that like a few days ago? Because we were talking about.
Actually, yes.
Yes. We were talking about what was it, the Blackadder or something?
Mouse.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I had that mouse, and then now I have like a Corsair.
Oh, you're prepared, dude.
Of buttons and stuff. Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, the thing is, for World of Warcraft, I have to play with this mouse. Otherwise, I can't play. I feel like I can't play the game. On
just too many buttons.
On WoW, like, I mean, you can keybind it in a way where you just use it on your keyboard, but like, it's just way easier. I feel, just using everything on my thumb. Even for League of Legends, I use all the items and stuff, just on my thumb. I don't know.
Yeah, because it is a finger that you.
It was difficult at first.
Yeah, you probably have to get used to it, but that's a finger that just gets completely unused. I mean, like, it grips your mouse. You can make the argument that if it's the only mouse on, if it's the only thing on the left side, but you can technically move your mouse around without your thumb touching it at all.
Yeah, but then here's the thing: is that you technically have 12 keys, right? Because it goes from 1 to 12. But then also you can add like a shift or control, and then all of a sudden you have twice or 3 times the amount.
Oh yeah. You have 36. Yeah, crazy. Yeah.
And I do on WoW, I do for shift, control, and alternate. So I just have that's 36, 48.
Yeah, 48 keys.
Keybinds. Yeah. So I don't know. I tried going back to a normal mouse.
That's almost enough for a DS, actually. Yeah.
So yeah, I haven't had any issues with key bindings yet, thankfully.
Thankfully, yeah. No, yeah, I assume that switching characters and stuff is where it gets tricky, where you. Different kills.
Yes, actually, yeah, because I have to sit down and like start every new character I have to sit down and spend like a good 20-30 minutes like setting up keybinds and stuff.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I feel like it's customized to my playstyle, so I don't know.
Yeah. That seems like
it. That.
Yeah, no, it seems to make sense for sure. Some people play with controllers for Maple, I know, but only in certain situations. Because it can relieve some of the repetitive strain that you could get. It's like more likely to get RSI from a keyboard repetitive than from a controller, so makes sense for some people.
I sent you screenshot with buffed and unbuffed. I don't know which is more important with my stats.
Well, in your case, what's more important is what your actual like. Well, so what I want to know is what is your functional stuff, right? I don't care what you can have when you're just standing still in a town map. I want to see like if you have 100% uptime on your buffs, like what are you getting at that point? Because some skills might give you like 20% critical rate. In your case, a lot of them give 100%. So the fact that I see 25% there is not alarming to me at all. In most people's cases, I see that 25% and I'd be like, holy shit, you need to work on that, right? Because otherwise your critical damage isn't being applied. But in your case, it's like I know that doesn't, yeah, it's not that important. So what's going to come more and more into play, and I'm looking at the hyperstats a little bit as well. Do you have any in arcane power right now?
Do I have one? I'm sorry.
Any hyperstats in arcane power?
I'm sorry. I actually didn't include there. I do not. I'm
Okay.
saving on those 95 again for today.
Mhm.
I only have what you can't see there is I have 6 on attack power.
Okay.
And everything else is 0. So you see the boss damage. Yeah. So attack power I have it on 6, and that's it.
Okay. So in the beginning, you kind of just like spread pretty wide because anything past level 7 and 8 is just insanely expensive. But once you get past level 200, 210, you get so many points that you actually do want to start prioritizing certain things over other things, specifically about IED, like we talked about, right? If you get a bigger chunk of IED, it's actually more efficient than smaller sources. So if you level up the IED maybe a little bit beyond where the other ones are at, it'll disproportionately make those stats, those points more valuable, basically.
Yeah, because the points go up like exponentially. Like the cost, right?
The cost, yeah. Typically, the stats do for some as well. Like for critical rate, for example, it's like 1% per level up to 5, and then it's 2% per level. So there's like a. So typically, I say like, hey, all the good stats, get them all to 5. Then go back, go to the same priority, get them all to 8, and then go back and then get them all to 10. But once you're like at the 8 point, you kind of want to. Sometimes you just want to do a full reroll of your points, just a full reset, and then just focus more on specific skills, because you might get 1, 2, 3 extra levels maybe out of some really important skills, and you're only lacking a little bit. For strength, for example, it's a very low priority because the strength in there does not get multiplied by the percentage strength from your equips. It's just a flat amount. And because of that, it's not as efficient. The attack that you have does get multiplied, but the further in the game you go, the more total attack you get from a lot of different sources, and the less individual value one attack gets when compared to things like boss damage, IED, critical damage. Those hold up way better in the long run. So every now and then it can be a good idea to just click reset and then just reapply them. And the most expensive a reset can get is 10 mil, which you don't want to do every day, but it is not like extremely prohibitive or anything like that.
Okay.
So I would advise that you have 5 and then 6. The demon force, like, do you find yourself running out a lot? Like, is 6 a good number, or is a little bit less could also work? Or
So I have it at 180 right now because my opener takes exactly that amount. Well, actually, it takes 200 demon force if I want to do like my full opener. But I've just found it half the time I just pop boundless rage at the beginning.
yeah, and then
Everything is free. So I don't know. At the beginning I did it because I thought I really needed it, but now I'm just finding that I don't really need it as much. Really.
I think that's a normal
Maybe
progression.
sometimes. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's a normal progression with Demon Slayer, that in the beginning it's a little bit harder to manage all your Demon Fury, but once you get more experience with your character, you can actually find that a lot of the stuff is becomes way more doable. I would say if you can like get around with only like 4 levels or something in there, because the first 4 are super duper cheap. So if you just put 4 levels in, you'll only be down by 20, right? You'll still be at 160.
Yep.
And I think you will notice barely any difference, but you will have a lot of extra points available. So if you put that at 4, and then basically focus on, I would put the IED at 10, because you're gonna want to start trying CRA. And IED is like the main crux between that stands like in the way of you having damage and it being dealt to the boss. And especially with Vellum with its 200% PDR, that's when that starts really getting really tricky. So I would put the IED at 10. If I do some quick maths, I think that should mean that like at least critical damage, and boss damage, we should all be able to get to 7, I think. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 4, 8, 10. 10, 15, 25, 35, 40. And then you had 6 in attack, right?
Yes.
40. 55, 65, 80. 15, 20, 25, 30. Oh god, that's 40 and 40. Oh, that'll be 80. So that'll be 9. And then 8 is 25. Oh, it'll be 10 shy. One of them will have to stay at 6, I think. Like if you, I think if you do 4 of DF, 6 of critical damage, 10 IED, and then 7 damage, 7 boss damage, I think you can swing that.
And go up to 10 IED?
Yeah, 4, 6, 10, 7, 7. I think you can do that. It's skipping the critical rate, of course, yeah.
Well, sadly I can't right now because I'm broke from the from the event.
Oh no, wait. No, you can definitely hang on. No, you can definitely do that because I forgot to count the 95. No, you should be able to do 4 and then 8, 10, 8, 8. I think.
No, I mean I can't afford to reset right.
Yeah, no, that's fine. But that should be like one boss away. 1 or 2 bosses away.
Okay.
If you never really reset the first time, it's like 100k or something. It's
I haven't reset and it's saying 10 mil. I've never reset this before.
Oh, really? Oh, I thought it.
Yeah.
I thought it like worked up to 10 mil. Oh, maybe it depends on your level or your total amount of points. Okay. But yeah. So, well, I would say start with the 4, with the 10, and then just evenly go between crit damage, and boss damage. Just evenly level those up. They might all be like around 7 or 8, around there. They'll just help you with your overall output, and then if you have any points left, you can put them in attack, and then if you have anything left after that, you can put some in strength. That's kind of like, in general, how you distribute the points.
Okay.
Okay, so your critical rate will go even lower without the sharp eyes, but it doesn't matter. We'll put an extra boost nodes in there. You're looking specifically for Demon Lash. Yeah, your link skills, right now you don't have access to many. As you get access to more, you'll have a specifically more like a bossing set of link skills and a mobbing set. Just, based on what does damage to bosses and what does damage to normal monsters, basically. Yeah, that's just going to slowly grow as your legion grows, as long as you roughly keep the priority order that I have in the links command, then you'll be absolutely fine.
Okay.
But yeah, so equip-wise, you do have 3 months with the Pencilier, so we're actually getting to the equips now, which you probably thought was going to be the most of it, but actually is the smallest part, because now that you understand all of these things,
yeah, I get it.
A lot of the equip decisions will start making way more sense. So weapon secondary Emblem, you've already got your secondary, I see, at Legendary. That's good, because you keep that one for a long-ass time. You do have 30% IED there. It's probably very useful with the 9 attack as well. Next thing is going to be to get the Emblem up there. That Emblem will also be able to get IED. So in general, if you need an IED line, typically we get it from the Emblem, because the secondary, because the Emblem can only get IED and attack, whereas the secondary can get IED, attack, and boss. So you have more outs there if you let the IED sit on your Emblem instead.
Okay.
And then your weapon, ideally for the weapon you go full attack. Of course not on this one because it's temporary and Fafnir, but once you get Abzo and stuff, you go full attack there, because the Abzo is at level 160, so it's a higher tier. So the IED and the boss damage would be the same amount, but the attack lines are actually 1% higher, so that makes it more efficient to get the attack lines there.
Yeah, I haven't invested too much on the Fafnir stuff.
No, it's fine where it is, like 6% attack and 12 attack, and the flame gives a little bit of attack, like that's all fine. And like most people, like around 210 to 215 can, start doing CRA, maybe solo, maybe like with a duo partner. And that's without the CRA gear, and you already have that and the set bonus and a little bit of stats from it, so it should be definitely very doable. And you have a bunch of nodes as well, right? That a lot of people
Now?
usually
Like,
could.
do you think I could start working on CRA?
You can definitely start practicing. Have you done normal 10 times so you can access it?
I'm pretty sure I've done it more than 10 times already. I think maybe.
Yeah,
Not
if you want to
sure.
make sure, you can go in and you can try the practice mode, because
Okay.
that doesn't take away your clear mode. And then if you can go into the practice mode, that means you've cleared it 10 times. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because you want to get familiarized with what the boss actually does, and I have some videos on my channels of doing the bosses, stuff like that. But you want to start making your mistakes so that you don't have to make them once you're going in there for real, with all of your buffs on, with maybe some guild skills, stuff like that. So that it doesn't eat into all of your buff freezers and stuff. Because eventually you want to replace this, but I think also CRA is just a very, very good test to really, just put your character to the test and your control, and your patience and your determination. Because it's never gonna work first time, unless some people are like, oh, I just cleared CRA, and I'm like, oh, congratulations, and like, yeah, I'm level 236 with full Abzo, and I'm like, well, I mean, I'm happy for you, but it's not really that much of an achievement at that point, because you literally just pressed bind and held your burst down, right?
Right.
Yeah,
and I really want to.
And that can be really fun, but if you work your way all up there and then you can do it, it feels so much better than that's like your first
that's what I want
first
to do.
contact.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like I've done. I don't know. Maybe I'm antisocial or something, but I've been treating MapleStory as a single player game so far.
Yeah, I did for a long time as well.
Not because I don't want to interact with people. It's just that right now I'm just getting a lot of enjoyment from just me putting in the work and seeing how I'm progressing with my character.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, I know later on I'm obviously gonna work with other players and stuff, but I want to make sure first I have an idea what the heck I'm doing first.
Yeah, I think that's a good baseline, especially
yeah.
for bosses, because you don't want to join a party, be completely clueless, and either drag the party down because there might be a mechanic that you're not aware of and you're actually screwing over your team members, or you're just getting absolutely carried, and at the end you have something that is very hard to ascribe value to because you didn't put in the work, and it becomes this weird thing where I have it, but I didn't really deserve it, and I don't know how to properly value this thing.
That's how I feel with this Fafnir gear. That's how I feel with this Fafnir, which is, again, I feel like I'm really spoiled. I don't really know how comparatively I would be right now if I didn't have this gear. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's right now disproportionately it's a big chunk because all of your other gear is probably not that well upgraded, because it doesn't have to be, because the CRA takes up a big chunk. The main thing is you usually neglect like those item slots, except for the weapon, of course, not too much, but you neglect the other item slots quite a bit because you know it's going to get replaced by Fafnir, and therefore you disproportionately upgrade everything else. But then when everything else is stronger, that makes the Fafnir gear shine even more when you get it in the CRA gear, because
you know what upsets me though too? Sorry, but I cut you off.
No, go for it.
Look at the flame on my Fafnir gear. Like, look at the flames on those. I rolled flames on those on the like weapon
stuff?
aside.
Mm-hmm. Oh, the top. Holy shit. That's
look at the
and the bottom
on all of them. Yeah.
Yeah, the head is like that's easy to get, but the top and the bottom are like those are really
like
good.
I kid you not, those were 2 rolls in on flames. Like that I bought from the
that's
lady.
yeah. I mean, it's not like end game, but this is like this gets you towards the end game pretty easily. Yeah.
I'm like, really?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course you would roll clean 52 and 5 and but so the good thing is, like, you get to use this gear, you get to go to a point easier where you can earn like the permanent gear, but also like once you get the permanent gear, you don't want to immediately start investing into it because you still have a lot of mileage that you can get out of this, right? So you can still, while having this stuff in your back pocket, you can still focus more on stuff like the accessories, make a lot more money, and then when the day comes closer, you have more time, you can look for a specific event to start upgrading it, and then when the day comes closer, then you start investing into the gear, and then you can just seamlessly switch over. But that whole time you've gotten a lot of extra value out of this stuff because you didn't have to upgrade yet. So that's where a lot of the value comes from, not so much from how strong it is, but also for how early you get it and how much that lets you just invest your money into other stuff instead. Oh, that's a nice pendant you got there with 18% strength. I assume you just Master Craftsman lucked into that one. That's pretty good. Yeah, so with the current event, there's a really nice ring to get.
Okay.
You're probably leveling up the scroll, right?
Mm-hmm.
Once
I'm
we
just
get
waiting right now for, I think it's Wednesday.
yeah, and then we'll get the next scroll, and then basically you'll get the ring once you do the unlock on a character. Well, obviously this one, and then with every scroll you will upgrade the base stats to stronger and stronger and stronger, and they'll obviously replace one of your either the Kurbrox or the Ifya, whatever one of the two. What's your set bonus right now? You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, you have 9 now.
Mm-hmm.
So like easy, quick, like short-term things you can do is do normal ping bean every day to get one of those cups if you don't have that.
No, I got the belt.
Yeah, no, the cup is also really good. It has
No,
it's
not
level
yet.
140 and it also has flame advantage. Do you know about the difference with flames and everything?
Yes, I follow your. You had like a link
Yeah,
where I could
exactly.
like search him. Yes.
Yeah, I have a whole video now with where I explain everything and I have links to all of it. Yeah, so the cup is higher level and has flame advantage, so that one will net you way more stats, and it can drop from normal ping bean. So that shouldn't take you more than like 3-4 days at the most if you're like unlucky with the drop.
Okay.
So that's like short term something you can do. The other thing is like the ring is what you're already working on. The other two rings that definitely stay with you is the Kana treasure ring because it's high level, and then for now the White Blossom ring because it gives you the set bonus. And then even if you end up rolling stat on it or whatever, it can be your damage ring for a bit, and then later on, once you get stronger rings, those will become your damage rings, and then you just re-roll the potential on this. The main thing is because we don't have trade, you always try to find ways of getting to the end goal with like maximum carryover of invested value that you've already done. So
Okay.
any kind of equip that you get to legendary, if it can be refurbished later on or repurposed, I guess, for a different goal, for a different purpose, then that's always beneficial because it saves you a whole lot of investment cost that you've already made. For the same reason, we usually don't go too hard on the current shoulder. What you can do, for example, but it's not necessary anytime soon. No, because the kind of treasure is giving you the 2 set bonus. That's fine for now. Because you do have the option for the other shoulder, right? But the only other pendants you have right now at your disposal would be the Machinator and the Dominator, which are both also part of the same set. So you get like the same outcome set wise.
I have here. Let me send you a screenshot real quick through Discord, because I have this alien fragment sitting on my bags with unique potential on it.
What's unique?
I just don't know if it's worth completing that set, because it's just the thing is that the belt dropped with that flame, and the flame was just so good that it actually beats the Ayame's treasure set bonus.
Oh, the belt. Oh, hang on, I didn't see your belt.
Yeah, here. I'll send you a. Sorry, I don't know why.
Where's the belt
So
at? Oh, the belt must have not made it. Don't worry, there's always one
no
thing.
way, really?
There's always one thing that doesn't make it. Don't worry. It's a normal
here,
occurrence.
I'll send you a screenshot of the.
Oh, 64 strength. Oh yeah. Well, I got the
That's
Ayame
one I
and
have on my
the.
bag. Oh, there it is. Yeah.
Yeah, I got the Ayame and a Golden Clover next to each other.
Yeah. So like the Golden Clover belt just ended up being just way better.
Yep. Well, relatively way better, right? It's 6,000 range, which in the grand scheme of things is like less than 1% of your damage, right? So that's another thing. Like if something is like 1,000 range better, but it gives you some kind of utility, like some kind of ID, some kind of boss damage, then that means that that's probably better because the ID boss damage doesn't show up in your range.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
yes.
and but usually that doesn't show up on the item, but like it would in the set bonus, for example, because I'm pretty sure the 9 set bonus gives you, is it boss damage?
No, just regular damage.
No, for the boss accessory set, I mean, right? Like 9 set gives you 10%
yes.
boss damage, right? Yeah.
Yeah, 10% boss damage.
Yeah, so it's like 7k range, which sometimes isn't worth going through the whole process of upgrading for just 7,000 range, doing the star forcing, doing the cubing, the potentialing, maybe the flaming, all of that. But if it also gives you 10 boss on top of that, then it becomes worth it. So that's like another way to look at the value of an item, more so than just look at the range increase when you hover over it.
Okay.
Yeah, you have a little bit of puzzling to do. What it comes down to, or the puzzling that you can do, what it comes down to is that a lot of these options are just very, very close. Whether you go for the 3-set Ayame and then I think you can still go for 9 boss on top of that, but that kind of like locks into place your ring situation. Yeah, because you could get because I think this Ifya ring doesn't count as a set, but it could be upgraded to the noble Ifya ring, and then you could switch out the belt again while still keeping 9, and then you could, if you upgrade the pendant, and then or you could go for the shoulder, and you switch. Like, there's a lot of options that are just very, very close. If you get the 2 short options would be noble Ifya ring, upgrading this one to noble, and then switching out your regular horntail pendant for the alien fragment. That's probably the simplest thing you can do to gain some damage right now, since it's already unique. So it'll be nice to be able to tap into that. And your current horntail necklace isn't like insane. Like, we need to keep this. So that could be something you do in the short term. But other than that,
the chaos or the chaos or the regular one.
The regular one, right? Because it's only 3% strength, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you replace it now, you lose the 9 set bonus. So to compensate for that, if you upgrade the Ifya ring to the noble Ifya ring, then you can. I think you have to do some Rose Garden quests, but you've probably already done some of that.
Currently.
Yeah. Because then it'll because this is a regular Ifya ring, right? I'm not mistaken.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Then that'll that's probably the simplest thing you can do that gives you the best rates without like going too crazy with it. And then the Kerberg's ring can get replaced by the event ring. The Stone of Eternal Life, I think it's called, will get replaced by the Pink Holy Cup. And then everything else will pretty much just stay the same. The one thing you want to work on is make sure that everything that you have now gets potential and gets you 6% strength at least. And that if you
the cape, right?
Yeah, for example, the cape. I think your shoulder doesn't have any right now. The rings don't all have potential yet. Just try to get potential on everything. Try to get epic and 6%. That's just going to be cost efficiency wise. That's going to be the easiest thing to get a lot of staff from.
Should I just get the epots from the shop that's coming up?
Yeah, you could do that as well.
Shop?
Yeah, you could do that as well. Yeah.
Because I had like 300 or something Legion coins, and I had like 3 other epots. I used them all on the cape. All of them failed.
Yeah, welcome to 50. Like welcome to 50% land where it works 10% of the time every time.
I'm like, what is this?
Yeah, nobody believes that the epots are 50%. That's
They don't feel like it.
No, for sure.
And the stamps.
Yeah, and stamps. Yeah, you can buy silver stamps from the shop. You'll get more and more stamps once you do more bossing, and then elites sometimes drop them as well. Did he reroll the flame on the cape? I think he's at like 32 strength or something.
Yeah, I re-rolled it multiple times.
Yep.
And that was like the highest I got it. I was like, I'm probably just gonna leave it here.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
For now.
Yeah, so there's like some min-maxy things with like the glove and the shoe and everything, but you only have 2 items because you already have the CRA, so I wouldn't go too hard there. But yeah, roll at least 3% strength on everything, then work towards 6% strength on everything, and then the next thing is going to be upgrading your emblem. That's going to be huge.
Getting it to legendary.
Yeah, at least unique, but probably straight up to legendary. Yeah.
What cubes should I use then to get that high?
So I have like a database, access to a database that someone made a while ago, where they kind of just looked at a whole bunch of numbers that existed and see like what is efficiency wise for tiering up, which type of cube gives you the best value. And as you can see that for epic to unique, it's very, very close. Probably this is just like a rounding error, so it's probably pound for pound the same cost. What it does mean though is that the fewer instances you have, so the more expensive the cubes are, the more possible variance there is. Right? It's like with if you have like a 10% chance of winning and you do it one time, or you have a 1% chance to winning and you do it 10 times.
10 times.
If you do both like a million times, then the second one is more likely to be like closer to the average. So if you have Monster Crossman cubes, that would be technically the cheapest way of getting from Epic to Unique. So you can buy them from the shop, or you can buy them, or you get them from drops when you're doing like a bunch of Zakumza or something. But of course, there's never a sale on these. You can get a little bit of discount from the guild, but for black cubes and red cubes, sometimes there's sales. So if there are sales, then you want to use those instead, because then, yeah, because they're so close, then that becomes significantly cheaper. And then with red and black cubes,
I mean, I have to use a red once it's unique anyway. So yeah.
well, or black cubes. Typically, people use black cubes to get from unique to legendary. Reason because is that it reveals fewer times, so you have fewer times that you have to do the reveal costs, and it's because it's fewer times also, you spend your money faster, so you can spend more time training and grinding instead. If it's for a single item, it doesn't make a huge difference. In general, if it's just like one singular item, I would opt for red as well. Maybe get like a few black, but then mostly red. Because if it tiers up early and you're stuck with a bunch of black cubes, then you're stuck with very expensive rerolls in legendary. Whereas if you go full red, you can just keep rolling with the reds because you want to roll with red when it's legendary, because that's when you get the most value, because you get the most rolls for your money.
Right. Okay. Makes sense.
Yeah. So usually I go for like a little bit of a mix and match. I go like I get like six black. Like if it's unique already, get like 6 black cubes or something, and then a bunch of red or something like that. See if I can get lucky with some black, and then if it takes too many reds, I'll buy another pack, something like that. Yeah.
Got it.
Kind of like go as I go. Yeah. The main thing is going to be to I think if you combine that with practicing CRA, and a lot of it is also going to come down to working on your Legion and your links. So that's going to help you a lot. Because on your character, you're working on your damage a lot. You're working on mainly like your range a lot, and then with your links and your legion, you're working a lot on the invisible stats like crit rate, crit damage, IED, boss damage. Like those, a lot of that comes from there, and that's not really gonna show up in your range, but it's gonna show up in your boss damage like crazy. So, and putting those two together, the combination there is what's gonna put that together with mechanics and with knowing what the boss is gonna do, and then you're gonna be killing bosses like. Yeah, it's nothing.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah. Other than that, I guess work on the Monster Parker badge. That's always useful. Don't know if you're working on that.
No. What is that for?
So all of the the metal. I mean, all of the metals are pretty like milquetoast, like very very close together, almost indistinguishable. The thing that the 7-day Monster Park medal has is that it gives an extra 10% IED. And IED is one of those stats that if you can get it and it doesn't go at the expense of it, like it has low opportunity cost, then you want to jump on that because it does scale very well because of the 300% PDR that those endgame bosses have.
Right.
So that's one of the ways. And since it's a slow process, the sooner you start that, the sooner you'll be done with that. So you can do 2 free runs a day, and then you can go up to 7 a day if you buy 5 extra tickets from the cash shop for Mezzo. But that can be expensive.
Now you're talking about IED and the bossing. What about my inner ability? I spent a lot on that. Do I need anything I should work on there on my inner ability?
Right now, you just want to save honor experience for like the longest time, basically, and then min-max it later. I have
What am I looking for, you think?
So if you check ! inner ability, I have a command that goes about like how do you want to go about leveling it up, and then what are all the possible outcomes, and what do you eventually want to aim for in all the classes. I think you want, if I had to guess, I would think you want boss, and then buff duration, and then possibly attack, I would guess. Yeah, or damage to debuff.
I think I'm there already?
Yeah, it's just that the numbers will be different. So the highest possible number you can get on second or third line for buff duration is 38 instead of the 9 that you have, I think.
Yeah, I have 9. Okay, so I want to aim for 38. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
And then the way to do that would be through circulators, because otherwise it'd just be infinitely rolling. Circulate for 38% buff. But if you hit 8% damage to debuffs or 21 attack, then those would be worth keeping as well on the second or third line, because that's a unique line. In general, the invulnerability rolls legendary top and then epic, and then with a low chance of being unique on both lines. On either lines.
But I thought circulators, you can't lock the invulnerability.
No, you can't lock, but you can return to the invulnerability before, if it's not an upgrade. They're like black cubes in that regard.
Okay.
But if you hit the unique line, or any line you hit with circulator, always goes to the highest possible number within that tier. So that's why you want to use circulators to get to unique and to the highest number within unique. And then once you keep that, you will lose your top line, your 20% boss. But then you want to wait until there's one of those 50% off events, lock that line that you rolled for with the circulator, and then try to get the boss line back on your top line.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, because there's a little bit. There's a lot less variance there than there is in all of the possible outcomes on the second and third line, because it's not just legendary lands.
So you're working on it backwards then, from bottom to top, basically.
Yeah, basically, yeah, because there's more variance there. So you want to lock those in with a circulator, and then until you do that, you need to make like way more honor experience. You're talking about like 1.5, 2 mil honor experience at least before you like go back and do the whole dog and pony show with invulnerability.
And during an event.
Yes. So one way to get some honor experience would be to participate in dojo every week. On Monday, you'll get some points, but you'll have to be in the top 70% of people. And with those dojo points, you can buy honor experience. And the other thing is just training a lot and bossing a lot. And as you get more drop rate, you'll also get more of those honor medals dropping. So you'll see those more and more.
Okay. Awesome. Alright. Like, anything else you think I should work on, like even potential-wise or anything on my gear?
No, because the CRA is temporary, so I said definitely focus on like getting like 3% all, 6% all, and then just go hard on the emblem, and until the emblem is okay, you just basically save for switching over to the real CRA gear once you get that.
You know what I'm worried about though? Mm-hmm. That once I actually get the real CRA gear, that it's just gonna be worse than what I already have just because of the flames.
Initially it will be, yeah. That's why you want to keep this as long as possible. But initially it will be. The reason that it will get better is because you're gonna Star Force it beyond, and Star Force beyond 15 is insane. Once you go beyond 15, you start getting chunks of weapon attack. You get like 9, 10, 11, 12 like per level. And then all of your equips past 15 basically become like small weapons until when you're in the end game, like all of your items have like 100 weapon attack on them. And that's why the value of the hyperstat of the attack, that's why that one decreases over time.
Yeah, and I totally forgot about that. Yeah, the Star Forcing.
Yeah, people focus very heavily on potential in the beginning, but the real killer and the real power creep in this game is Star Force. I think if you look at it purely ideally, I think besides your weapon, secondary, and emblem, I don't think you want to take anything ever over unique, like ever, before you go past 17 stars and then start redoing it. Because most of the time, you're going to take a lower level item, get it high Star Force, transfer it over, and then it's going to get downgraded to Epic anyway, so you're going to have to start over from Epic potential, and then you want to go to Legendary and go to Town. Yeah.
Okay.
And most things won't have flame advantage, so yeah, you don't want to go too hard anyway.
With the Star Forcing, one last question, because I actually thought of this, I couldn't find a clear answer anywhere. Regarding the Wings of Fate, the cape.
Yeah.
If I boom it, can I just get one from the NPC and
Oof, I don't know that one. I've never done that whole storyline, so actually I don't know. Does anyone in chat know if you boom it? Oh, people say you can get another one, yeah.
So
but I wouldn't.
So that's like that's free. That's like one of the easiest things to upgrade if that's true, then, right?
Yeah, but yeah, and it is a really good cape.
Trap.
It is a really good cape, but you will eventually just move into an Absolab cape instead, and you cannot transfer hammer it into Abso, even though it is level 150, because it acts as a level 100 item or something.
Okay.
Yeah. Otherwise, that would be the way to go. Yeah, you just get it very far. You just get infinite replacements. You get it to like 20 stars, something, 21, whatever. You transfer it over to Abzo, and then you're like set. But it doesn't function like that.
Okay.
So typically, either you keep this one and you don't go too hard on it, and then once you get to HMag, you'll replace it with the Tyrant Cape, because that one has very high base stats. And then you'll get that one to Epic or Unique, and then you'll just hold on to that as you basically wait until Abzo comes peeking around the corner.
Okay.
And that's when things get really interesting. But if you check my Transfer Hammer and Transposing video, you can see in all the different stages of the game what you can do to prepare for when that stuff starts coming. Like which items you need to start preparing, what events you need to look out for, all of that stuff.
Okay.
But yeah,
so I see a lot of meso farming in my future then.
Find a healthy balance between meso farming on one, getting some bossing characters in the other hand, and then and training on your main as long as that's enjoyable to you.
Yeah, I think that's the way to go.
I think so too.
Especially the bossing characters, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, some characters get there super
until
easily.
I get the Kana high up there, because I know it's not. I know that it's not just gonna be like, oh, I Terror Burn a Kana to 200, and now I'm gonna start making bank. Like, I know I have to probably invest a lot.
Yeah,
probably
the nodes
more than I've invested in my Demon Slayer.
Yeah, initially, but it's gonna pay off. Like the 210, the extra nodes, that's gonna be super helpful. But then you really quickly you just go for some magic attack on weapon secondary and emblem, and then you go super hard into the accessories. Just like kind of like the same thing as here, but you really want to get to those accessories really fast to get those rates up. And if you mess around with the inner ability, then you definitely want to focus on Meso Obtain there for the top line.
Okay. Perfect. Lastly, any good bossing characters then? Just so I can like have a kind of
yeah. So I think I mentioned it before, right? Like Adele, very easy, very fast to get to be able to like CRA.
Sorry?
Adele.
Okay, Adele.
Dual Blade, Hero, and Nightlord, and possibly Dark Knight kind of peaks pretty early as well. And I would say Arc is a solid character to do it with as well.
Perfect. All right.
Yes.
I think that's everything, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Everything and then some, I think. Yeah.
Perfect. That's pretty much what I wanted. Now I have like a good direction and an idea of where I'm at.
For sure. And hopefully all of the underlying reasonings why people do what they do gets a little bit more clear as well.
Yes, because at least personally, I really want to know why I'm doing certain things. Like, obviously, people would give you advice, which is great, but, just telling me, hey, just do this for the sake of doing it.
Yeah.
Sometimes
I would always ask people why.
Me as much. Yeah.
But, like, why are you telling me to do this? Yeah. And if they don't know, then I would always wonder, like, why are you telling me to do it if you don't even know why it's a thing? Like, why would you advise it?
Right. Yeah. Right.
It's like, 'cause someone else told me. Well, then ask them. Why did you not ask that person why when they told you to do it, right? It's like, well, they just heard it as well. It was like, there's got to be... What if it's something that was a good thing to do 3 years ago and then that was a horrible thing to do and we're just perpetuating it, right? Yeah, you need to... Yeah, so hopefully with the underlying stuff being a little bit more clear and with the event calendar out, you can kind of see like, oh, something's coming. This might impact something that I'm already doing, and then we'll probably already be talking about it in the stream, or I'll have another command for it or something, and then... Yeah, it'll make more sense. Like, how is this going to impact? Or I'll make a video about it, something like that.
Okay. Perfect. Well, thank you so much. And by the way, I have to say this: all the stuff that you have online is like super helpful. Like I want to say like 80% of the stuff that I've been able to do so far is because of like all the stuff you have online.
I'm very glad with that. Yeah.
So again, I just needed some like personal questions and stuff like this that just get me on the right path. But like honestly, all of the stuff you have online is like super helpful compared to like other stuff online and forums and stuff.
Okay. So, yeah, some of the stuff can be outdated because of the game is pretty small, so some stuff gets outdated very quickly.
Well, awesome, man. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for the compliments. That's always nice to hear.
Is this VOD gonna be available somewhere? Because I
yes, I will.
Because I want to like go back first. watch some stuff?
Yeah, for sure. I will upload it to YouTube. It'll be up before the end of the day, so
Awesome.
you'll be able to see it.
Okay. Well, you have a great day, man.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, and have a good one. Good luck.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Wow. Well, we're getting ready for flag race. Make sure, guys, that you stay around in the chat. I'll be giving away how many sessions was it? 4. I'll be giving out 4 of these free advice sessions to people in the chat right now. All right. Yes, right now. But we have flag race and everything, and I gotta think about the YouTube video. If you commented in one of the last 2 videos, I'll also today be going through those last videos and picking possible winners. I'll be picking 6 winners from YouTube videos as well to also get free advice sessions like these. Usually they come through donation because I put a lot of time into this and a lot of thought, and my advice is fucking worth it. Everyone says so, so poo on you. If you want one of these sessions as well, check the description of the video, and maybe I'll be talking to you one day, just like we just did.